Hey everyone, it's Dustin with TechMD. Today we're going to be repairing a Stylo 6. Highly recommend getting the parts from IG. Its parts are in the link in the description, and they're going to give you a 1-year warranty. And I'm also going to teach you how to test your part before installing. So let me show you what I'm using. So I'm using a hot plate at 120 degrees, and I put a glass, the back glass sitting down. And I'm using this hot plate, 120 degrees Celsius. Sit it on there for about 3 to 5 minutes where it's just warm to the touch. And we're going to go ahead and start separating. Okay, so now that it's nice and warm, you're going to use a towel or a glove or something to help not burn the crap out of yourself. And we're going to go ahead and start separating this here. We're going to go ahead and start separating it. I just started at a little small corner edge, doesn't really matter. And typically I like to use my iPlastix tool once I get in there. Unfortunately, it's lost. Can't believe that. Go ahead and start separating. Now if this is cracked, you're just going to go ahead and order one and then just remove this carefully still, because you don't want to cut any cables or anything like that. You'll hear some of the glue separating and cutting as you dig deeper here. Now you can order it with just the frame if you like, but I like to do it with just the screen unless the frame is heavily damaged. So in heavily damaged, you know, this metal frame around here, if it's bent or dinged, then you need to replace that. So this is definitely giving me some extra glue here, extra pressure to lift this up. Looks like it's a little bit deep right here. There we go. Don't want to go too deep when I'm cutting cables. I can't remember exactly how this phone's designed on the inside. I don't want to lift too hard because you'll be lifting against glue. Remember, you got to have it nice and hot for this to separate easy. All right, so now that we got it separated, we can go ahead and put this back on the heater. And we're gonna just leave that on the heater the whole entire time. So we need to open this up and see where our LCD cable is so we can put it on and test it. Which it looks like it's right here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this rear speaker cover. Now this is a point where you should have already turned it off, but if you haven't, make sure you do. If you still can't, you're gonna have to remove all these screws up here and disconnect the battery. Or you can just let your phone die, that would be easier. But once you get the new screen popped on, obviously you're gonna have to give it a little bit of a charge to test it. And you're gonna have to let your phone cool down if it's still warm from the heater. You don't want to get it too warm or you'll damage that battery. So make sure it's no more than 5 minutes on that heater. Go ahead and remove these screws out of the way if they actually want to come out. And this screw seems to be holding on to this bracket. I'm gonna go ahead and release that. All right, now we found the LCD cable right here. And we can connect the new one. Careful not to rip or tear it. A lot of times these are like on a very high tension. So here's the deal. If this is your one and only, which it's not, then you're going to have to loosen up this bottom piece to actually click this on. If you rip off that old screen and this one doesn't work and you don't have a backup one, well, that's bad news, because then you'll be without a phone. So what I'd recommend doing is carefully lifting this up, and you can also use your flat tool here. And put on a little bit on the heater too for a second, just not too long, like more than 20 seconds if it's not coming up. We're just trying to loosen this up here for a second. But you want to be ultra careful not to puncture this cable here and damage it. See, it's very delicate right here, so I'd almost not recommend doing this. When we get connected, we can turn it on. The other option is to remove the front screen carefully and try not to damage it, and then stick this one on before gluing it down to see if it works. Yep, I hear it turned on. So unfortunately, either I damaged the screen separating that, so you should not do that, or the screen is just defective, which either one's possible. Don't see where I damaged it, so not sure. So we're gonna have to go get another screen. And in the meantime, here I'm going to go ahead and turn off the unit and wait. I go get it. Missed a screw right here. Gotta get them all. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect that and ponder what happened to this poor screen. Do you think we broke it? Or do you think it was just bad? I'm not sure, but I just don't see a way to connect this without... Yeah, you're gonna have to remove that front screen in order to do it. And that's the only downside to about fixing these devices here, is you have to remove the front screen to test it, because I'm gonna have to weave it through, and then I can test it to see if it's actually functioning, that new front screen, unfortunately. Because the other way to do this is to buy it with the frame, so, and which we don't have, we just have the LCDs. So we're gonna go ahead and put that screen on the heater and get it prepared to separate, so that way we can put on the new screen and test it and then glue it down. All right, so I got another screen, and also the phone is nice and warm. This one is designed slightly different. I don't know if I got it from a different supplier, but this one will let me test. This one would not. So if you get one like this that you cannot test, then I would suggest making sure that your screen is broken. Either way, make sure your screen's broken, not usable, and you ordered this, and let's say it doesn't work. It's not a huge issue, not a problem. But if your screen does work, then maybe I suggest ordering it with a frame, and then transfer all the small components over, which I won't have a video of that today, but it's a suggestion just to save the hassle. Now, I already warmed it up, so I'm not going to test it, but technically I could test this at this moment. But I got more screens anyways. Got lots of these things. So now that it's nice and warm, we're going to hold it with a rag and just start separating. run your tool along the glass and frame rim, and it could splinter, crack. That is not a problem. As that does that, just you're gonna have to pick it off. Try not to touch the front cameras with your hands whatsoever. Make sure you're using a clean rag or gloves. Because if you do accidentally touch the cameras, it's not a problem as long as it's clean. But your hands definitely should never touch those rear cameras. If you're really worried about it, then just focus on removing the motherboard. Okay, now that it's removed, now we're going to clean up the sides and make sure there's no broken glass whatsoever on the sides. Sometimes the piece comes off all in one, which that one was a little bit easier. And other times they don't. Okay, so this is the ear mesh up here. Gotta be really careful with this. All right, now that we get all the glue and any extra mess out of here, you can use two types of glues. E8000, it glues really slow. E7000 or T7000, much faster. It's a sealant as well, but you gotta be careful. You don't want to get any in the backlight. And then also you could use double-sided tape, but I don't use that stuff anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick this through for the testing phase. You ordered 2 of these, you might as well test both of them. If you're a repair shop, you might as well keep 2 or 3 in stock. Make your life easier. Oh. Power button, oh wait, no power button's over here, right? Come on, screwing around with me. So this power button is capacitive. So when I remove this piece here, okay, it's pressing down on the board, and meaning that the phone won't turn on unless you press right here. So I'm gonna press right there, so that way the capacitor touches the touch sensitive board. It's hard to explain beyond that. So this one was, like I said, already separated, so I could have done it. For whatever reason, this one was not. Not sure what's wrong with this one. But we're gonna send this back to IG and they'll just give me a credit or replace it or give me a refund. Whatever I choose. If you're a repair shop, they usually give a credit. And all you have to do is just write defective and send it back to their RMA department. So we're just waiting for this to turn on and then we're going to test it. The phone is still a little bit hot, so it might overheat and shut down. That can happen if you don't wait for it to cool down. Okay, so we're getting the touchscreen working here, which is good. And just basically you're touching everywhere and make sure it's working. Okay, and if you're done doing that, you go ahead and just disconnect the battery and turn the sucker off. We're gonna go ahead and disconnect this, pull it out. Once you're fully satisfied it's working, we're gonna go ahead and glue this piece on. We're gonna let glue on when it's sticking in there. Doesn't want it set. All right. Next is T7000. Just kind of roll it up like a toothpaste, not a problem. And we're gonna go ahead and just run a nice thicker coat on the bottom here, and then probably thinner around the edges. If your grill does not want to sit on properly, your speaker grill, you can sit it down later, just before you're ready to sew up everything. It's very important with these screens, they're very thin and fragile, so to make sure that you clean every piece of glue and piece of glass left around. If you don't, you could puncture the screen and damage it. So there's a very thin coat right here, and I am trying to work with how thin it is. You don't want to get any in your speaker or your front camera, so just be really careful. And I'll try not to get in the camera here. It's a really, really thin coat. Be super careful. Use tweezers if you have to put some on the tweezers and run it along. Do not want too much here. Just emphasizing, because if you want to hear. But you still want to seal it so the way the phone's sealed properly. There's a little piece of glue I missed. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Maybe. Get a little bit more glue in there. Okay. Once you're satisfied with the level of glues, don't wait too long because this starts drying pretty quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in, make sure that sticker's off. We're gonna line it up top first. Make sure your ear speaker's properly aligned, and you can take the plastic off if you like, which we'll do right now. So we want to check alignment. You don't want to press too hard because you could crack it if you didn't have it lined up properly. You want to definitely make sure it's sitting flush, and if it's not, you might want to pull this cable here a little bit and help it along. There we go. I pulled the cable a little bit and that made it sit flush, which is good. It's going to be a little spongy at first. That's not a problem, but the whole point of pulling that off was to check your alignment and put it back on, because we're going to press down on it right here. And I'd give it a good about 45 seconds to a minute. Remember guys, purchase the parts from IG. You have any problems like I had? It's not a problem. I just send it back. They give me a label. Easy peasy. You don't have to worry about it. Parts sometimes are defective. It's just what it is. Sometimes they make no reason to be defective, but in this particular one, it was. So after holding that for about a full minute to 45 seconds, we're going to go ahead and clip the cables back in carefully. Don't overpress. And then we're going to go ahead and set our brackets back on. Looks like this bracket goes underneath. There we go. Now, once you feel satisfied with the brackets down, we're going to go ahead and put all these screws in. Okay, so the next part is you can dig out all the old adhesive if you like. You can just clear off some of the snares, so a little extra like this here. That's not a problem. Anything that's sticking up out abnormal, you can clear off. And then same with your back plate. So my back plate only has a few snares, and it's nice and hot, which is good. Snares meaning like if it's just sticking up a little too high. And it's just been sitting on that hot plate forever now while I've been doing this repair. So it's nice and warm, so it's going to warm up the rest of that glue and help seal it down. And the best way to know if you got a really good seal is if that fingerprint reader works in the back. You can also put some extra T7000 if you've lost too much glue. That happens all the time. So we're just going to hold this down for a little bit longer, and then we'll be able to turn it on and do one more final test. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. The Stylo 6. I'm going to do a quick overview of this to make it faster, and also I will possibly try to find one with a frame and do a video with a frame if you guys are looking for that. We'll see if that content needs to be done or not. Okay, guys? Anyways, please like and subscribe, and more detailed videos coming for you guys in the future. And I really appreciate if you purchase all these tools and parts all directly from IG. Remember, we had the iseasmo tool, we had some tweezers, we had a 00 screwdriver, and an iFlex. And I also recommend the iPlastix. Can't say the word. All those tools are really great to help open this device up and separate it. If you notice some of your screen is popping up or anything like that, just use some alcohol, clean it up, maybe get rid of some of those extra snares. You probably just didn't clean your frame enough, and you're going to need to clean it up and then press it down. Removing this screen after it's glued down is probably going to damage it, so I don't recommend doing that whatsoever. But yeah, if you want to get all original parts, like I said, go to IG, and please like and subscribe, and more videos coming in the future. Thanks, guys.